Hey y'all, it's Chris with Anderson Business Group. I hope you're all doing amazing today. In today's business world, there are separate ways that run parallel with each other on how to get individuals into your workforce. The two most common ways is a standard employee, and number two is a subcontractor. So today I want to kind of discuss the differences. I've had many people reach out and have some confusion on what determines an employee and what determines a subcontractor. So I want to go into this, and hopefully at the end of this, it will make more sense for you. So there's 11 things that we're going to look at, everything from handling to payments, training, responsibility of both parties, the taxes, the legal requirements, the control and independence, the relationship, financial, equipment and tools, and then liability and risk of both parties. So when we look at the first point here, as far as handling, this is how the company, you as the contractor or business that is hiring someone, whether it is an employee or a subcontractor, how you and their handling of what needs to happen works together. So on an employee, we'll look at them first. On an employee, you handle them to do tasks that they're paid for. And it can change quickly. So when you hire someone, you can hire them for a specific task, and their responsibilities can change throughout the day, throughout the week, throughout their employment. The way that a subcontractor is handled is different though, because it is a contract between the hiree and the hirer. They must have an agreement on the way that everything is worked. The tasks are in a contract, and if there is any changes, then it must be spelled out. This is done by project. So unlike an employee where you can change their tasks throughout the day, throughout their employment, you only have certain tasks for a subcontractor to do by the project. If there's any changes, then you must amend your agreement with them. Now, as far as payment, when we look at payment, the employee is paid a salary or hourly, okay? They get a fixed amount for their time that they're there. $15 per hour, $50,000 per year. It could be a draw plus commission. That is how you pay an employee. The way that the payment works with a subcontractor is a pay for a project. So there's an agreement or there is a contract that is written, and it says you will complete these tasks within this parameters and you will get paid X amount of dollars. They are not paid by the hour, nor do they get any kind of benefits. Now, as far as training, an employee may have on-site or on-job training, or may be considered a professional coming in with a degree, something like that, but you still need to give them a little bit of this is how we do things here. As it relates to a subcontractor, they should already be the pros and absolutely need no training. You are hiring them because of their expertise. They are the expert, and that is why you are subbing it out to them. Next is the responsibilities of both parties, okay? This one can be a little bit more detailed. This one can take a little bit more. So the responsibilities as an employee is to do what the boss says. Okay? Do what the boss said. Now, also, as an employer of that employee, it is your responsibility to make sure that you supply them with a safe and healthy work environment. It must be up to standards for that employee to work for them, okay? You must also supply them with all of their needs to complete that job or reimburse them for that. The responsibilities as a subcontractor is they are contracted to complete a certain project or task within the agreed time frame. You will list out all their tasks, when it needs to be done in that agreement, in that contract. So it is a contract/agreement that you say you're going to do, okay? Outside of that, there is nothing that must be supplied to them. Now, as far as taxes, as an employee and the employer, you must do payroll deduct taxes. You are held responsible for taking out their Social Security tax, their income tax, and their Medicare tax, okay? And they are paid with a W-2. On a subcontractor, the contractor is held responsible for maintaining their tax documents, for calculating their own payroll taxes, their own Social Security, Medicare, all of that is on them. And they are paid with a 1099 form, a 1099 NEC form, okay? This is what they will file to do their taxes. It is no different than you being hired by someone else to do a task. You pay them, if you get hired by a customer to do a job, let's say go cut trees, it is not that customer's job to give you a W-2 or take payroll taxes out. It is up to you as the contractor. A subcontractor is the exact same thing. They are their own standalone business. They are required to document their own taxes. And that takes us into the legal side of things and the legal requirements. As an employee, the employer must meet all legal requirements by your state and the Fed. Okay? That means anti-discrimination laws. That means that they must abide by minimum wage and overtime rules. If someone works overtime, you must pay them what the state mandates. As far as a subcontractor, there is no overtime. There is no legal requirements for breaks. There is no legal requirements as far as regulatory law that must be implemented like an employee, okay? There is no minimum wage. None of that has to do with that. That is up to that company to pay their people accordingly. So, no minimum wage. No overtime. Okay? None of that. You agree in your agreement, in your contract, this is what you're going to get paid for these tasks, and this is the time frame you have it. Now, that goes into the control and independence. As far as control and independence, for an employee, the employer is able to set tasks that must be completed within the working hours. and you can determine the hours, the location, and the way the job is to be completed, okay? This is where you have control over that human asset, okay? The employee is the human asset. You are able to give them a detailed list of you are going to do A, B, C, and D in that order, and you're going to do it at this location at this time. Now, as a subcontractor, it is only task and time mandated. Now, what that means is you have a set of tasks that need to be completed, and you tell them you have until Friday to get this done. You cannot tell them the hours that they must work, and you cannot tell them how it will get done. You are looking at the high level of that task, okay? Now, when it comes to relationship, the relationship between the individual and the company or the employer, the relationship is long-term, okay? As it relates to an employee. You don't want a high turnover. You want someone who's going to be there because you're going to invest in them. You're going to train them. You're going to make sure that they are up to your standards, okay? The relationship for a subcontractor is task/job specific, okay? It is short term. Okay? They are not someone that shows up Monday through Friday for 30 years from 8 to 5. No. They are designed to do one task and get that done and move on. Okay? Now, also, as a subcontractor, they are allowed to do that same task that they got hired to do for you. Let's say they're a plumber. You must give them the availability, or they have the availability to take on more work outside of what you're doing. So you cannot tell them, hey, this is your only job. Now it's up to them if they want to handle that, okay? Now, as far as financial, when we look at the financial side of things between an employee and an employer, okay? The employer is responsible for the business expenses related to that job, okay? That is like insurance withholdings and the withholdings of it, the insurance, the liability insurance, the workers' comp insurance. All of that is on the company, okay? It is your responsibility as the employer to make sure that everything is set up to where the financial responsibility of operating your business has nothing to do with them. If an employee must go out and purchase a tool to do their job, a business will reimburse them for that or give them a certain amount of dollars that they're able to utilize to purchase those tools. The financial side of a subcontractor is it is 100% on the subcontractor, okay? They are held responsible for having liability insurance, workers' comp insurance. They're held financially responsible for buying their own tools, for buying their own equipment, their own uniforms, things as far as that nature. Okay, now since I've mentioned equipment and tools, we're going to go ahead and go to that one. Equipment and tools. This is supplied for an employer. It is supplied by the company. Okay? If you have employees, you are the one that is supplying the tools for the tasks that will get done during that employment to be completed. For a subcontractor, it is once again 100% on the subcontractor to have all of their tools and equipment that are necessary. They must maintain them. They must, if something breaks, purchase new ones, okay? Now this last one is a big one. as far as liability and risk. An employee has zero liability / risk for the company to make money, to be profitable, to look at the P&L, the profit and loss statements. That is on the company. It is not the employer's responsibility. Liability and risk as a subcontractor is 100% on the subcontractor. It is up to them to make sure that they handle their profit and loss, their risk management, and things as far as that nature. Now, it is extremely important to know where each individual that comes to work for your company, regardless if it's an employee or a subcontractor, which bucket they should fall into. If you miscategorize a individual as a subcontractor when they're supposed to be an employee, or you're putting them as an employee when they should be a subcontractor, you can be held legally and financially responsible through the government, okay? The best way to know if I need an employee or a subcontractor is the freedom that it gives the individual and the corporation as they work together. Is it a short term? Is it a long term? Am I going to pay them by the hour, or am I going to pay them by the job? You need to be able to know this. Am I going to handle their taxes? Am I going to handle their insurances? Am I going to take the responsibility of the risk, of the liability and the workers' comp? Or am I expecting them to do it? You cannot have a 1099 employee. There's no such thing as that. I've heard that over and over on social medias, that there's 1099 employees. I have 1099 employees. There's no such thing. An employee is someone who is held responsible for your business. They work directly for you. There is no separate entity. A subcontractor or 1099 individual is an individual company that is working for you, that is focusing on a certain number of tasks for a short period of time. If that individual is going to work for you for an extended period of time, then they need to be classified as an employee and be a W-2. It is extremely important to know the difference. And it is in your hands to do this. As the business owner, the federal and state governments mandate that you classify each person correctly. I hope this helps, and I hope this is beneficial to you. Have a great day, y'all.